Is America's next supervolcano waking up? What does a swarm of earthquakes have to do with falling stars? And what's happening beneath the surface of Mount Rainier that has scientists both excited and concerned? I'm the host, and this is our digital channel. Mount Rainier is stirring. In recent weeks, hundreds of small earthquakes have been detected around the volcano, causing some to wonder if an eruption is imminent. But it turns out these rumblings are nothing compared to the rumbling in another Pacific Northwest mountain that happened just a few decades ago. In fact, there's a lot that Rainier can teach us about one of the world's most fascinating but least understood geologic sites, the Cascade Range's very own Campi Crater Lake. The story of Campi begins with a mountain that once towered over the American West. At nearly 14,000 feet high, it was called L.A. Little, and it dominated the landscape for millions of years. But over time, the mountain's magma chamber emptied during a series of eruptions, leaving behind a massive pile of ash and rock. This exposed the molten rock beneath the mountain to the air, which caused it to cool rapidly and hardened into a glassy black substance called obsidian. Today, visitors can still see this cooled lava on the mountainside in a place called Obsidian Cliff. But as the magma chamber drained, the mountain's internal pressure dropped and the overlying rock collapsed. Landslides, mudflows, and volcanic debris rushed down the mountainside, carving out the landscape. Over time, more volcanic debris built up at the mountain's base, creating a valley that's now home to several towns, including Bend, Oregon. This process repeated itself several times throughout history, eventually forming the massive crater lake we see today. Now, while it may be the second deepest lake in the United States, Crater Lake wasn't always so full of water. For much of its early history, the lake basin acted like a gigantic hot tub, spewing steam and hot water vapor into the air. That all changed in the mid-1700s, when an intense earthquake caused the North American and Pacific plates to shift. This created a natural dam across the lake's outlet, holding back thousands of years' worth of rain and snowmelt. As the centuries passed, this created a deep blue lake filled with glacial deposits and pumice from past eruptions. And while it hasn't overflowed since then, scientists know that it will eventually fill to the brim and spill over the rim. This would cause catastrophic flooding in central Oregon, threatening the lives and homes of tens of thousands of people. Knowing this, it's no surprise that Crater Lake is one of the most closely monitored volcanoes in the country. And recently, scientists have noticed unusual activity beneath the lake. Using seismic sensors placed around the lake, they've recorded an increase in the number of small earthquakes that seem to be coming from beneath the lake bed. Between May and June of 2022, the U.S. Geological Survey detected 26 earthquakes near the lake. While this might sound alarming, it's actually quite common for volcanoes to experience swarms of small earthquakes. These earthquakes aren't dangerous in themselves, but they can be the first sign of something more dangerous brewing beneath the surface. The USGS is monitoring Crater Lake closely because there is a chance that these earthquakes are a sign that the magma chamber beneath the lake is beginning to fill again. If this is the case, the magma could eventually build up enough pressure to trigger an eruption. And if it erupts with enough force, it could cause the water in Crater Lake to overflow. This isn't just a local concern. Scientists believe that if Crater Lake were to overflow, the resulting flood would damage infrastructure and threaten lives in central Oregon and beyond. And while an eruption isn't imminent, it's possible that it could happen sooner than expected. So what does this mean for Mount Rainier? Well, by studying the earthquakes and other activity around Crater Lake, scientists hope to better understand the risks posed by the volcano. They also hope to gain insight into what might happen if Rainier were to erupt. In particular, scientists are interested in learning more about how magma moves through the crust. By understanding how magma moves, scientists can better predict how an eruption might unfold. This could help them to develop better models for predicting volcanic eruptions and mitigating their impact. While Rainier and Crater Lake are located hundreds of miles apart, they share many similarities. Both are stratovolcanoes with steep sides and explosive eruption histories. and both sit atop subduction zones where one tectonic plate is sliding beneath another. This makes them particularly dangerous, because the subducting plate can carry water into the mantle, where it can react with hot rocks and generate large amounts of gas. When this gas is released, it can cause violent explosions that blast ash and debris high into the atmosphere. It can even lead to the formation of giant lahars, or volcanic mudflows. Lahars are one of the most destructive types of volcanic eruptions because they can travel long distances at high speeds. During the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, for example, a lahar caused by melting snow raced down the Toutle River Valley, destroying everything in its path. So one of the things that scientists hope to learn from studying Crater Lake is how lahars form and how far they might travel from Rainier if it were to erupt. Of course, there's a lot more to learn from Crater Lake. By studying the lake's unique geology, scientists are also gaining insight into the history of the region's volcanic activity. They're using this knowledge to develop better models for predicting future eruptions and mitigating their impact. For example, scientists are working on a new hazard assessment for Crater Lake that will help emergency managers to develop evacuation plans in the event of an eruption. They're also studying the lake's water chemistry to better understand the potential environmental impacts of an eruption. It's this kind of work that's helping to keep people safe from some of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. And it's making us better prepared for whatever comes our way. From studying the earthquakes around Crater Lake to developing new models for predicting volcanic eruptions, scientists are working hard to keep people safe from some of the most dangerous volcanoes in the world. And they're doing it in the most exciting place imaginable, the American West. If you're interested in learning more about the science behind volcanic eruptions, there are plenty of resources available to help you do that. One great place to start is the USGS website, which has a wealth of information on volcanoes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. You can also check out the website for the Cascade Volcano Observatory, which focuses specifically on the volcanoes in the Cascade Range. And of course, there are plenty of books and articles written on the subject. Just do a quick search for volcanic eruptions or volcanoes in general. You'll be surprised at how much information is out there. If you want to learn more about the science behind Mount Rainier, check out the National Park Service website for more information. And if you're really interested in learning more about Crater Lake, be sure to visit the lake and explore the visitor center. The staff there are experts on Crater Lake and would be happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks for